It's time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of ProRodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Welcome back in to the 12th episode of the Chute Bosses, the official podcast of ProRodeo. Tanner and Tracy are here. As always, Tracy just getting back from a great event out in Kansas, and we got a great show coming your way. On the back half of the show, we'll sit down with Stetson Frost, Tracy, the owner of the Lane Frost brand, also the nephew to Lane Frost. And, I'm excited to sit down with him. They just got a cool documentary. I think it just came out, so a lot of cool things happening for that Lane Frost brand.
And just learning more about the family and Lane. I mean, obviously the documentary was, from a truth aspect, so just getting to see that. I mean, I'm anxious to see the documentary, but just getting to understand Lane's life from the family's perspective is great to see.
Yeah, and I can't wait to sit down with Stetson. We'll have him. That'll be in segment 3 here of the Chute Bosses. But as we always do, Tracy, let's kick it off with our ProRodeo props. And this one, I'm turning to you. We mentioned you just got back from a trip to Kansas. Who's deserving of our ProRodeo props?
Well, it's the people that ran the National Finals steer roping. It's a great event. It was in its 10th year at the Kansas Star Casino in Mulvane, Kansas, right outside of Wichita. And they just put on a great event. The last night, they probably drew 1,500 fans. Okay. I mean, the place fits 2,000, but if you understand steer roping, that's a huge crowd for steer roping. Yeah. They loved the event. Cole Patterson came through and won it. And I'd like to send out the prop specifically outside of Cole for winning it. He did a great job, and his father, in his 28th appearance, Rocky, wins the average, which is crazy, and he just roped consistently all 10 steers. But my prop specifically would be to J.P. Wickett, the steer roping director who was on the board. He'd been on the board representing the steer ropers since 2008.
Jeez.
I mean, and he did a lot for steer roping over the years. I mean, it wasn't by himself. He had a lot of help from other steer ropers, but JP really had the best interest of the steer ropers at heart. They got their money raised up. It's a $500,000 event at the NFSR. Yeah. And back in the day, in 2013, when I first started covering the NFSR, round winners were getting like 2,000-3,000. This year they're getting almost 11,000. So I mean the sports changed, and JP was a big part of that. And props go out to JP Wickett, who's not going to be out of rodeo. His kids are just getting older, and he wants to help them in their rodeo careers.
Yeah, and I think ever since I've got here, I've been here about 2.5 years now. JP Wickett's always a guy. Whether it's the NFSR, that was obviously his main focus, but also in Las Vegas at the NFR. He was a focal point of what we were trying to do with not only livestock but with contestants, and definitely deserving a heck of a career running that. Any idea who might come in as a replacement, or is that going to be something we wait and see?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. I mean, there's some very intelligent steer ropers out there that love the sport, so I'm sure they'll find a replacement. But doing what JP did initially, I mean, he cast a pretty big shadow. So whoever takes that position, it'll be tough shoes to fill. I mean, I'm sure someone can, but like I said, props go out to JP because, I mean, steer ropers don't maybe get the love that they need to sometimes, but he was all about the steer rope. He's a 16-time qualifier for the NFSR himself, so obviously he knew the sport inside and out, but he really devoted his life and time to the steer ropers. Now he wants to spend more time with his family, but yeah, it'll be a tough shoes to fill.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And as we go into our short round, we're going to stay with that steer roping. Tracy, you mentioned it. Cole Patterson wins his second gold buckle, and he's one of those guys that coming into the NFSR, he had a pretty good chunk of lead, but he knew that you can't win a gold buckle anymore unless you come to the NFSR and at least do something, at least put yourself out there and win some money. And Cole's able to do that, and it all goes back, Tracy, to what you mentioned to me when we first got in this morning is round 9 needed to be his, and he came out when the pressure was on, and he did just that. Yeah,
he wins round 9 in a 9.9 run, the second fastest of the whole event. And the reason that was so huge is because he won $10,160. So then it pushes his money up because he was out of the average. If he was in the average, it wouldn't have mattered because the average there pays $30,000.
Yeah, it was good.
So I mean, it's a big swing. I mean, if you're 30 back and you can make up the time of the average, he got knocked to the average because he only roped 8 steers, and in 7th round on Saturday he missed, and I was like, oh man, and you could see like, oh wow, things got real interesting because Scott Snedeker was coming hard. Snedeker ended up winning $51,000 there, which was the most at the NFSR, but the difference was that Cole Patterson won $45,000. So he kept Snedeker within reach. He wins $166,000. That didn't break his single season record of 185 when he won his first gold buckle in 2021, but I mean, it's a testament to how far steer roping's come because, like I said, the first year I covered it in 2013, I want to say Trevor won it with like $60,000.
Wow.
I mean, that just tells you, I mean, and I know it's different inflation and a lot of things involved, but to win the 166,000 as a steer roper, and they only go to about 30 events. I mean, it's, you know, they only have so many rodeos they go to. There's much more than they used to be, but it's a great event at the Kansas Star. I applaud any rodeo fan, true diehard rodeo person, to watch steer roping and the way they put on that event, and it's hooked into the Hampton Inn and the Kansas Star Casino. I tell people when they think I'm crazy, it's my favorite event to cover, not because that I don't love the NFR. Out of convenience and my own sanity and relief and just relaxation, I love the event. It's just simple and it's so much fun.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So congratulations to all those steer ropers. If you want to read more on that event, you can visit us on ProRodeo.com. We also go into our short round a little bit further, Tracy. We just announced this last week here at the PRCA. Country music star Cody Johnson. I'm a big fan. He's got a bunch of great hits. I mean, he's really turned into a mega superstar. He is going to address the PRCA National Convention at the South Point. And what a better guy to bring in to talk to some of those committees and fans alike.
Yeah, and he was a former bull rider. I did a huge feature story on him in 2000. Well, in the spring of 21, he played at the NFR in 2020 in Arlington, and when it got moved because of COVID restrictions in Las Vegas. And I spoke to him for like 30 minutes then, and literally like a month later, he blew up. He became this mega country star. I mean, Till You Can't, and his huge hits. But the time I spoke to him, he was just a down-to-earth guy. He loved rodeo.
Dude,
and he team ropes. He does, you know, he does a lot of rodeo stuff on the side when he's not singing. And I think it's great, the message he portrays. You know, don't give up, the resilience. I mean, country themes. But I think it'll be fantastic for people at a convention to get someone like that. Is a huge deal for us, and I'm excited to see. And I'm hoping I can cross paths with him ourselves.
Get him on the podcast,
bring him on our Chute Bosses. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Cody Johnson, just one of those guys that, you know, he even mentioned that he wishes he could have became a rodeo star. You know, he wanted to rodeo, but he also wanted to be able to tell his story through music now and help other guys out. So that should be great. PRCA National Convention, Cody Johnson going to be our speaker there. And we get ready for our 8-question segment here on the Chute Bosses. And this is a good one, Tracy, because we know that the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, it's coming up shortly. You know, we just got a couple of weeks and we're going to be in Las Vegas, gold buckles on the line. And we're going to sit down with Alan Rheinheimer, the general manager, took over a couple of years ago and has just done a fantastic job.
Yeah, he's extremely personable. I mean, he's easy to get along with, and it's been fantastic working with him. And I think there's things on this 8 questions people will learn about him that they didn't know. Yeah,
we mentioned that you see Alan in a professional setting. You see him when he's running the NFR. It's all business. So let's sit down and have a little fun. Here's our 8-question segment with the NFR General Manager, Alan Rheinheimer.
Favorite rodeo event?
Saddlebronc.
Favorite rodeo?
NFR.
Favorite musical artist?
Garth Brooks.
Coolest celebrity you've ever met?
Oh gosh, put me on the spot there. I would have to say Peyton Manning.
Describe the NFR in one word.
Fantastic.
Favorite governor in South Dakota?
no spot of chance of messing that up. Christy Doan.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 natural kids and we've raised 9. We've adopted 6.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie's got to be Lonesome Dove.
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets. In our calloused hands, tested by barbed wire and rope. Our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resist-all hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resist all. We live it every day.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, the official podcast of Pro Rodeo. We mentioned off the top of the show, we got some great things coming your way. We'll sit down with Stetson Frost. That'll be in the last segment here of the Chute Bosses. He'll talk a little bit about the Lane Frost brand, which he owns. Also his uncle, Lane Frost, and so many great things coming your way here on the Chute Bosses. Tracy, we as we always do when we come back from that first break, we talk and go right into our Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight. The Hall of Fame just down below us here at the PRCA headquarters, so if you ever have time, go down there and check it out. And this time we're going to go with Chris LeDoux, and this one kind of speaks for itself, Tracy. Chris LeDoux, a 2005 notable inductee into the Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame. Dude's a legend. You know, he had quite the rodeo career inside the arena, but also outside the arena. It's hard to become a bigger star in the sport.
Yeah, he's a world champion, and I mean, as as I've said, I mean, we can post anything on Chris LeDoux, and like last week we did a 1974 picture from the NFR. I mean, we just get crazy reaction. I mean, he was so popular. He's a great country singer, and from everything that I've gathered from friends that knew him personally, he was just even a better person.
And I think we sat down when we were talking about Chris LeDoux last week. I threw up some tunes on the old YouTube. I was getting at County Fair. You know, there's so many great things. This Cowboys hat. You know, younger. I came from a younger generation where Chris LeDoux was maybe a little bit, outside of my age range. I was born in '93, but I still love his songs. You know, that's just still something that can come on the radio, and I'm like, yes, let's go, Chris LeDoux. I'm ready for it. But we mentioned his success inside the arena. Actually qualified for, you competed in all 3 rough stock events, Tracy, and 4 times to the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo, and also a world champion in 1976.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, some of these guys go on to bigger and better things, and outside of the arena, he's a world champion. I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that. And I mean, I think that helps cement his legacy even more. I mean, he was massively popular even when he was rodeoing, and then he went to be a country music star. But then when you can say you were a world champion, PRCA world champion, it just almost validates your legacy, that you weren't just some random cowboy just hanging out with the guys. I mean, you were a true world champion. So, like I said, it's kind of like Lane Frost. I mean, there's 2 guys we can post at any time, Lane or Chris LeDoux, and we get crazy reaction. That just tells you how popular they are and what their legacy is.
Yeah, so definitely deserving of our Pro Rodeo Hall of Fame spotlight here on the Chute Bosses podcast. It's time to go to our Did You Know segment. The Wrangler National Finals Rodeo just around the corner. And Tracy, this one's going to maybe catch some people by surprise, because in every sport you have young stars that come in and make a big splash right away. And our Did You Know segment is, did you know Keenan Hayes has the chance to become the first rookie ever in bareback riding to win a world title? We don't want to put any extra pressure on Keenan, because we know Vegas already does that by itself, but he has a chance to make history. He's already made history on the permit, won the most money there. Rookie wins the most money here in bareback riding in a single season, and now he has a chance to go to the NFR and do something that's never been done.
Yeah, I mean, it's the marathon that awaits him, but I mean, he's got the talent. He's got unbelievable 100%. Talent, and it's kind of shocking to me that a rookie hasn't won.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's only been one bull rider that Bill Cornell and then Sage Kimsey, and Cornell won in like in the 60s. It's harder to win rough stock as a rookie. I'm not saying it's easy to win anything as a rookie. I mean, Haven Medjid did it most recently in 19, and he won the average. It's just, I mean, even Trevor Brazil didn't even qualify for the NFR as a rookie.
Yeah, that's
crazy. He didn't even get Rookie of the Year. To tell you how insane that is. Shane Slack did. And so, I mean, it's just weird. I mean, and some of those guys mature later, a little, 2-3 years down the road. But Keenan Hayes has got massive talent. Can he make it correlate? It would be a fairy tale inning to what's been a fairy tale season for him so far.
And the Colorado native, we're both Colorado guys, so it would be cool to see Keenan get the job done, and it's going to be a heck of a 10 nights, a fight to the finish in Vegas. A lot of those other rookies are hanging right on there with him as well. So we mentioned Keenan has a chance to become the first rookie. Don't count out Cade Saunier or Dean Thompson. They're both. Cade's, I think, second in the world. So it's one of those things where we're talking about Keenan, but other guys can do it as well. It's been quite the year for the rookies in the bareback riding.
Right, and as we say, it pays 30 to win rounds and pays 78 to win the average. So, I mean, you can win so much money on the last night if you win round 10 and the average. I mean, so you can jump 7-8 guys just because of what you do on round 10. So, I mean, and you know how it is with the momentum at the NFR. Guys get on a heater. They might, like Zeke Thurston last year was a prime example. I mean, he comes in, no one really thought he'd win the world. Not only does he win the world, he wins the Ram truck and wins like $250,000. And he just blew past everybody because he was just riding great. And a lot of it depends on the draw. There's a lot of things involved. But those guys have so much talent. And if you want to be great, that's what the NFR presents to you, because it's the best stock we have. And if you think you're the best, I mean, it's mano a mano, so to speak.
Yeah, head on head for 10 nights at the Thomas and Mack Center. And our viewer question, this one comes from Jason on Facebook. Tracy, they want to know, what year did the Cowboys Turtle Association become the RCA? And for our fans out there that may not know, the Turtle Association, still one of my, most favorite logos that we've had here in the sport of rodeo. It's a sick logo. But that was what the PRCA began as, was the Turtle Association. I believe that was in 1936, yes. Tracy. I think if I remember right, you're more of a historian at this than I am, but they kind of got upset. They were, somewhere out east, and then decided, hey, we're going to form this rodeo association, and it took off.
Yeah, it was just about the pay. They just wanted better pay, and essentially it was almost like a union. like treat us right.
Yeah.
And so they had all these people sign on and join, and then it moved forward into what it is today. I mean, it took progression, and obviously the money's better than it's ever been. But yeah, I mean, it had to start somewhere, and that's where it started, was the Turtle Association.
Yeah, and so going back to your original question, Jason, I know we kind of got off topic there a little bit, but 1945 was when the Turtle Association became the RCA, the Rodeo Cowboys Association, and then eventually 30 years later, 1975, we get to the ProRodeo Cowboys Association, Tracy, and this is just one of those ones that, the sport just continues to evolve, the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association. What will it be in 20 to 30 years,
Well, I mean, the best thing that we have going outside of our outstanding athletes is we're on TV all the time now.
Yeah,
and
exposure.
And the exposure, and the closer you become a mainstream sport, the more sponsors you can bring into the sport, and we're closer than ever to being as big as we've ever been.
And speaking of exposure, there's a guy that been wandering around the office. He claims he brings this show more exposure than anybody else we've seen. Buck is hanging out, and he claims he's got a good word for this word of the week.
I don't even know what his word is. I don't even know who Buck is. Buck looks like someone I know, and I have a twin brother, but I don't think that's my twin brother.
Maybe you got 3.
Yeah.
Triplets?
Maybe it's a triplet. I like his hair, though.
No doubt about it. Let's go down to Buck. He has your Pro Rodeo word of the day.
I'm Buck, correspondent for the Chute Bosses here at the PRCA. My word for the day is judges, as in the guys who keep the rules, do the rough stock events, make sure the timed event guys do things the right way. When it comes to Buck, people judge me, and I think that's not fair to Buck. My mom always says, "You're unique like everybody else, Buck."
Horses are one of nature's greatest gifts, which is why they deserve the very best that nature has to offer.
Since we've started using hemp flavoring, our horses are calmer, more willing, more athletic.
In the daily pellet, they eat it in their feed. My horses are picky. For them to eat it says something.
The stuff's really just been lightning in the bottle.
Equine Hemp Solutions. We support your horse so you can support your lifestyle. Proud supporter of your Western Sports Association. Go to the Equine Solutions website below and use Cowboy10 and receive 10% off your order.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast. And Tracy, we mentioned we got a great guest coming our way here. We're going to sit down with Stetson Frost. He's the owner of the Lane Frost brand, also the nephew to, obviously, the legendary Lane Frost. Can't wait for this interview. A lot of exciting things to chat about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the documentary just came out recently. I mean, and Lane Frost is one of our most popular cowboys ever. Unfortunately, in death. I mean, he was one of the greatest bull riders we'd ever seen, and then he passed away way too soon. But yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to him about the documentary and all the things, involving the Lane Frost brand.
No doubt about it. And Stetson's joining us here now on the Chute Bosses podcast. And Stetson, Tracy just touched on it already, but take us through a little bit about this Lane Frost documentary that just came out. I know it's a project you guys have been working on for quite a long time, and obviously the trailer looked great. Can't wait for me to be able to sit down and watch it. But take us through what went into that project and how happy you guys are that it's now out to the world.
Yeah. So the journey of the documentary, man, it was an interesting one. So I reached out to Tough Draw. They were doing some stuff with Tough Hedeman, and they're a production company, and they had a script for a movie that they were wanting to do. And I reached out and just kind of visited with them, and I had them come down and took them out to Clyde and Elsie's, and they did some interviews with them. And we're just kind of putting our feelers out there, getting to know each other, And after that happened, we started talking further, and then it's like, man, we should do something and, highlight Lane the way it should be done, So, everybody dove in. We got 2 production companies, Out of Order Studios, Tough Draw, and it took a village. There was probably 10 of us just constantly working on it. And the guys doing the actual production, they're having to go to all these homes and do these interviews. We had hundreds of hours of interviews. So it was really hard to narrow everything down to 2 hours, like super hard. But no, it all came together. It took us about 3 years. We started the project deep COVID. So, we had to just very carefully, we didn't want to make anybody uncomfortable with what was going on, with what COVID had, put out there for us. So, we handled that the best we could and got through everything. And then just the timing, the editing, the scoring, we wanted it just right. We didn't want to just throw this out there. We wanted to make sure it was perfect. And after viewing it, the 5th at the ISIS Theater in Fort Worth, they did it. I mean, it's amazing. It puts Lane in perspective. It makes him human. It talks about his failures, his wins, his redemptions, his life, his personal life, his friendships, just kind of how everything correlated and what made that perfect package, which was Lane. He was 25 when he passed, and I'm 37, and I still don't hold a candle to what that man accomplished. Most people don't. And the guy did it by 25. That's what people don't realize. They don't put a time frame on that. I'm like, imagine you at 25, where were you at in your life? And then it's like, whoa, like to do all that between 1 and 25 is insane. But they hit the documentary on the head. It's a beautiful story. And it's a true story. We didn't sugarcoat nothing. It is real and as raw as it needs to be. And we are super excited about it. We just had our true public viewing, the 19th, which was last night at Cowtown Coliseum. I've been communicating with the boys, James and Brad. They said it went amazing. So we do not have a second public premiere yet. We're probably gonna wait first a year just because holidays is getting kind of crazy. But long story short, that's the origin of how the documentary came together.
And Stetson, how important was it for you guys to get out the true story? I mean, I know 8 Seconds was massively popular, and from what I've been told, and I did some stuff about Lane and his 30th or the 25th anniversary, I believe, of his passing at Cheyenne. And Clyde and Elsie had told me that, that it wasn't really the true story. And I'd heard from Kendra Santos that it wasn't necessarily the true story. How important was it to get the true story out there? And what are people going to learn from your guys' documentary that maybe that they wouldn't have known even through all these years?
So I don't want to, give out any of the kind of the pivotal moments in the doc, but basically, we broke down Lane as a human. The whole documentary is portrayed as a ride. The preparation, the staying on the bull, the recovery, and basically, life is highs and lows. And this story of Lane, and I say story, this true depiction of his life is what we wanted people to see. We want to make him human. People put people on a pedestal that's their idols or their famous athletes, and he has those credentials, but we want people to know that he's human. There's, you still got to live in here, even though you're up here. You still got the same struggles as the guy that works at Walmart does. You know what I'm saying? So we portrayed Lane in a way that he was supposed to be. His shortcomings, the hard work he put in, the failures, the redemptions, all those things mesh together, and the impact now. I mean, we're 35 years later, and the impact now is just insane. I mean, we give out 10,000 plus Bibles a year. We have the brand. We do a lot of stuff with charity. Lane's legacy is way beyond that. And my quote, Sports Illustrated did an article, and my quote basically for that was, we want people to know that, first you need to find Jesus. Second, you got to work hard. And third, there is second chances in life. And those are three things that I feel like reign true throughout the whole project. And in the movie, 8 Seconds itself, that was a Hollywood story. They were trying to get out there. And I'm not saying that, that Lane didn't have failures. And I mean, there was things in there that were depicted, right? But they didn't really tell the story about Lane, how hard he worked. He was dyslexic, so he had to overcompensate, things like that. There was all these things that made Lane such a icon because, one, he was great with people. He was handsome. He was really good at bull riding. And he made you feel like you're the only person in the room if you were around him. And that's the story that needed to be told, not the story of bull ride, party, bull ride, die. I mean, that was what they gave us on 8 Seconds. And I'm not knocking that movie because that movie it made Lane an international star. Clyde and Elsie, as soon as it came out, because they made out, Clyde was just constantly unpleasable. And they got letter after letter of people, mending relationships with their father or their mother over that movie. So it kind of snowballed in this amazing way. And it wouldn't have happened without, that movie going worldwide. So
Stetson, for you, obviously I think you said you're 37 now, so we're at a point where you didn't really get to know Lane personally. You've kind of learned about his legacy and what type of guy he was through memories and through seeing different things. But, what have you learned about who Lane Frost was as a bull rider, as a person, just taking this thing over, creating this Lane Frost brand, and just being able to communicate with the people that were there next to him every single day?
Man, first off, it's an honor. It's an honor to do what I do. And it's very personal. My last name's on every box. That's something like customer service is so important to us because literally my last name's on the box. So the quality's there. I'm not going to risk my family namesake for crappy quality of products. But just learning about Lane, just the fascination, I watched the Jordan doc, it was a 10-part, 10-hour documentary. It was an amazing documentary. And that work ethic, that work ethic he had and that work ethic Kobe had, and these guys like that, they're rare. They're super rare. And Lane had that same work ethic. This guy would, he would run to the barn. He'd hop out of the gas station and do jump ropes till the guy's done pumping gas, hop back in. Just the physical, he would just always stay in a constant workout state. Found out from a friend kind of during the midst of the documentary that had no idea about this. So Lane would go to football practice and he wouldn't show up for the games because it was a rodeo every weekend. So he would go practice for the free workout basically and not show up again. And the first time he did it, the coach was like, "What are you doing?" Because Lane was an athlete. So he was counting on him to be there Friday night. And he's like, "Had a rodeo." He wasn't there to play football. He was there for the workout. And that right there alone, just the mindset, most people don't have that mindset. They're not going to take a beating just because it's a free beating, every day. So that right there blew my mind. And just, talking to my dad, just the stories about Lane working out and it just blew my mind how focused he was. I work out 3 days a week and I have to make myself do it. And this guy's doing it 7+, so just learning that work ethic about him was amazing. And yeah, just hearing the stories, Donnie Gay's got some funny stories about Lane. All his friends do, Wes Ward was a big part of the doc because, when Lane was in high school and stuff and before, as soon as Lane moved here to when he graduated high school, him and Wes were inseparable. He's in most of the family pictures, most of the birthdays, everything. So, getting to see his stories and stuff was really cool. And of course, Tough. And then guys like, JB that's like me, we're at that cuff of where we were so little that we don't really have any, and just hearing JB that he's modeled his whole career after Lane Frost. And I know for a fact he's worn out or lost DVDs of Bull Talk because he's called me and asked me for some more. So, he religiously watches Bull Talk and now he's got his little guy watching them. And that's just so cool,
Why do you think Lane chose bull riding? I know he was involved in the Western lifestyle. Certain guys get attracted to things for different reasons. Why do you think it was bulls for him?
I honestly don't know. Grandpa rode broncs, and from what Grandma would say and stuff, Lane would almost sleep through the whole rodeo. He could care less, and as soon as bull riding turned on, he went wild, and it was just fascinating to him, I guess. Like monster trucks, anything. Kids get hooked on something, and most kids it goes away, but obviously this guy didn't. So I just think he was a competitor. In grade school in Utah, he was a wrestler. And from what Grandma says, he was like, when they moved from Utah to Oklahoma, he was like 50-0 or something in his weight class wrestling. And then they moved here to Atoka or Lane area, which 10 miles outside of Atoka, where the high school he went to was, and they had no wrestling program. So I guess he went over to football to go to those practices, and he rodeoed. But yeah, so he had a wrestling background, and I think that probably helped his rodeo background. It helped him be good at bull riding because just the discipline one, the training's very rigorous, and so I think that strength-wise set him up for bull riding was his wrestling background.
And then Stetson, for you guys, obviously this is a continuing project. The Lane Frost brand is, ever so popular now. You see guys wearing the brand, wearing the logo all the time. Take us through, this documentary just came out, but what else are you guys working on, and continuing to find a way to promote Lane's legacy and, also just promote the next generation of rodeo athletes and bull riders?
Man, our message here, is hard work. That's our biggest message here. I feel like in today's world, there's not very many good positive influences out there. And I feel like Lane's story and Lane is one of them. And with that, we have our Bible ministry. We have it set up on the website where you go get a Bible, all you pay is shipping. The Bibles are free. We want you to have a Bible. So, that's huge, being able to tell the word of God. And, Lane was saved late in life. He was saved in 88 and he passed in 89. So it was just, that's super important to us. But no, the whole message behind the brand is if you work hard, you can have things or you can do things. And future wise though, we're trying to stay relevant in the community. We do a lot of sponsorships. We do a lot of donating. It's just, we want to keep this fire going, and, we're expanding and doing some other things outside of LF that are still in the culture. And we're super excited for those things to fruition.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you joining us. I mean, I know a lot of the stuff that, I've learned about Lane Frost and the things he's able to do, but to hear it first and from the documentary side of what you guys know and from a family aspect has been fantastic.
It's been really awesome. Like I said, we're just blessed. And as soon as we have more dates and stuff, we'll put them out there. We'd love for you guys to see it. So next time we have a viewing, if it's in proximity, I'll try to get y'all guys there.
Well, that would be awesome, Stetson. And one last question I have for you is, how can somebody, if they want to get involved with the Lane Frost brand, what can they do? Whether that's they just want to buy some merch or they want to come out and find a way to support you guys, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, so the website's lanefrost.com. All our social medias are Lane Frost brand. We're super active on them. We're very engaging with the audience. So if someone's wearing our gear and they tag us, we put it out there. We want to show the community and Lane's fan base. That's my favorite part when I talk to somebody, either email, text, or PM on social or something. I always at the end, I'm like, thank you for supporting and thank you for being a fan of Lane, because without that, this wouldn't be what it is.
Well, Stetson, we really appreciate you joining us here on the Chute Bosses. It's been great to chat with you. We know you got many great things. Definitely let us know about that documentary. It's one I got to check out for sure.
Definitely. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
There it is, Stetson Frost, Tracy, and just an overall great guy. And you can just tell they're doing so many things to honor Lane Frost, but also getting the right message out there and continuing to promote the right way to go about living your life.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most important thing. I mean, obviously Lane was iconic, but to understand the true story, I mean, especially from the family side of it, because, I mean, it's like The Last Dance that he spoke of with Michael Jordan. You see the true side of who they are, and you now with this, and I'm eager to watch it as well. I mean, we've seen the trailer. It's just who the true Lane Frost was, because then you really get to know the guy, and it's coming from the family perspective of it, and I think that's great because, I mean, Lane is, like I told people, he's probably top 3. Our most popular cowboy is still going. Like, no matter what we do with Lane's stuff, it blows up on social media and on our website just because he was such a great guy. So it's fantastic that they've gone down this road with this documentary.
Yeah, and you still see tons and tons of people out there, wearing that LF brand, wearing it. Even guys like, Trey Holston, you see him wearing it from time to time. And it's just, Lane Frost's legacy will be here as long as rodeo's here. It'll be stamped in the sport of rodeo no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, he's a legend. I mean, and some guys are more popular in death. Like Elvis was at the end of his career, and then he passed away, and then he becomes super famous. But Lane was at the peak of his career. Like he said, 25 years old. And so much was missed because it was so young, but then he's passed on this message for 35 years later, it's still going strong, and that tells you what an incredible legacy he has.
Yeah, and if you're interested more, like Stetson said, go on, check out the Lane Frost brand and all the great things they're doing in the sport of rodeo. That's going to do it for another episode of the Chute Bosses. We'll have much more coming your way as we lead up to the 65th Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. But until we get there, keep on rodeoing.